Hey guys, Shockist here, welcome back to a new video. Okay, today we're going to be doing an updated video on the top 10 base spots. Now this video was super hard to make because everyone has their own opinions on which base spot is their best and the different reasons to why that is. I even argued for a couple hours in my own tribe chat Discord which bases should appear in the top 10 and everyone's list was different. So this is my list and I'm going to give you guys the reasons to why each base spot is on the list and what makes them deserve their spot. Alright guys, before we get into the video, just a quick word from today's sponsor. Okay, so since the release of Fjodor and Lost Islands, we have seen a bunch of new caves come into the game, and they've been very well made in their own way. So starting this list off at number 10, we have the Lost Island Crouch Cave. Okay, so you may be thinking, why is this cave on the top 10 list, right? Okay, so all base spots has their pros and their cons, right? I feel that the biggest con about this spot is that the element is quite difficult to get, but now with how easy element dust is and being able to transfer it over, since transfers are open here now and official as well, I genuinely think this base spot deserves a spot in the top 10. So basically 6x damage stops here, so you could build a 1x tower there, and the cave itself is a crouch cave, so that in itself makes it super easy to defend online. Another con to this cave would be the size of the cave isn't the biggest. But you know what, there is enough room to have breeders here, there is enough room to have a war room and a full base in here. The base spot itself definitely deserves to appear in the top 10. So the one bad thing guys about crouch caves is that if you do not have a tower outside, you can offline the wall pretty quickly. It doesn't matter how well it's built, you can offline a wall. But you can build a really nice wall here. You know, it's like Island Ice Cave as well. It would take you an hour or so to potentially offline this, so you definitely need to put a tower outside. But that in itself is why this base spot is on the list, because it's nuts. Being able to put a 1x tower there is just absolutely insane. Obviously you wouldn't put it right here, but if you put it here, it covers the entrance there. Yeah, and makes the cave itself very, very strong. Alright, so moving on guys, at number 9, we've actually come over to Aberration to visit the Shadow Cave. Now, this cave is insane, and a lot of you guys aren't going to realize why this cave is so strong. But basically, what makes this cave really, really strong is this water part here. Now, basically, this is a water cave on Aberration, and there is no water dinos here, right? So, currently on Official, you have Shadow Mains, you've got Carbos, that are near impossible to kill, right? They have about 200k HP, so if you fill this here with aggressive dinos, aggressive shadow mains, aggressive baryonyxes, aggressive whatever you want to put in here, it's going to make whoever is raiding you its life a living hell, because they're near impossible to kill when they have so much health. I mean, you guys all know how tanky shadow mains are. They're insane and they're so hard to kill. Plus this part here guys, this is not 6x damage, so you could fill this with cubes too, and cubes are very, very, very strong. So if you have cubes with turrets on it, this part here is what's going to completely save you. And you know, a lot of the guys said you don't make it to the water wall on a good shadow, so this is what makes a good shadow, is this part here, the aggressive dinos, the cubes filling up here. But the cave itself is also really, really big. It's also a crouch. It's got a lot of defendable spots. You can put a wall here, you come back here, this is where the crouch is. And then the cave itself, I've actually seen people make gacha towers in here as well. So you've got so much space, it's a crouch. There's no water dinos on Aberration, so actually trying to get to this part here is very, very, very hard, and that is why it belongs on the list at number 9. But quickly before we leave here guys, one downside to this, and this is why it is lower on the list, is that it's aberration, right? And there's a lot of dinos you can't raise here because obviously it's aberration, and you can't bring the dinos over here, so you can't have breeders here. So this is what holds this cave back, but in itself is also what makes the cave strong. So this is why it's lower down on the list. Maybe it would be up higher on the list. If this cave was to ever open up to all dinos, which would be insane, it would definitely be a lot stronger. Alright guys, so number 8, we've actually come over to Extinction. I've never been a super big fan of this base spot, the tree itself, but you know, one of the reasons what makes this spot so strong is element is actually so easy to get here. Farming element on this map is super easy, so an abundance element is definitely one of the pros to living it on a tree. The thing is, it does require a semi-decent tribe to defend. Numbers really are everything in Ark. You definitely would need 6 people to be able to defend this, so that is, in my opinion, why it isn't higher up on the list. It is hard to raid. You can net Quetzals, so that in itself, you know, makes it a lot stronger. But I've never ever been a super big fan of the base spot itself. It's not, I mean, it is quite big. It does get a bit laggy to live here. Requires, you know, quite a lot of structures to build this up properly, because you need to build all this here, and then a lot of people want to build, you know, to cover this so people can't snow owl dive in. Because, you know, you've got owls that have 100k HP that can just fly into a blind spot in your base, and then I've seen bases get wiped that way. But the tree itself, in my opinion, you know, definitely at number 8, it does deserve that spot. It is a strong spot, but again, I think that you would definitely need the numbers to be there to defend it. Not like an absolute ton, but you know, if you get attacked, you're going to need to jump down, get 6 people on, push the fob, so on and so forth. So it's not like it's a crouch cave where 1 or 2 people can hold it. So yeah, that in itself is why it's weaker. But you know, if you spam this with a lot of towers, makes it so much more stronger and annoying. But again, requires quite a lot of building resources, requires quite a lot of towers, which means you need a lot of ammo, then you need to block a lot of areas off. It is a good spot, requires quite a lot of resources, requires a half decent amount of manpower. It's not a crouch, you got a big area, and element is easy to get. Alright guys, so number 7, we're going with the classic Island Ice Cave. You know, it is a classic. You can't put a tower outside it, but it has a very strong crouch. Yes, it can be offline pretty quickly. Yes, element isn't very good here, but the space in Island Ice is really nice. Again, element's a nightmare. It can be offline, so you need to hold an offline timer, but the cave itself, very hard to raid, and it's a classic. You know, it has to be in the top 10 list. I think number 7 is a fair position for the Island Ice Cave. Alright guys, at number 6, we're going with the classic Pearl Cave. Now, this spot itself has a lot of pros and cons. Element is harder to get here, but you know, you can always just transfer it over, no problem. 6-6 on Pearl Cave goes to Africa here. It literally starts here, goes all the way over there, so trying to get a good fob down is hard. Trying to build a tower outside is hard, so that has its pros and its cons, because for one, fobs are super easy to wipe because of the 6x damage, but you can't have anything out here. Now, plus, the cave itself, you know, we all know the Pearl Cave, nothing really fits through here apart from the Onyxes, so it is super hard to raid. Spot is very small. I know for a bit you could PT Mammoth. I don't think you can really do that anymore. So again, this is super easy to defend online. It's a crouch cave. And remember guys, the Pearl Cave itself is really big inside. You've got your wall here. You've got the room at the back over there. You've got so much space for raising, for breeding. You've got water. You can raise water tames. Yeah. I've always been a big fan of the Pearl Cave. Super strong base spot. Is really hard to raid, so yeah. So we're going to definitely conclude that at number 6, boys. And of course, guys, at number 5, we've got the Center Ice Cave, dude. I know you guys maybe thought this would have been higher up on the list. Maybe it should be. There's a lot of reasons to why it's not. Especially on 1x, I'm seeing a lot of tribes get wiped out with this. On small tribes, seeing tribes get wiped out with this. Water PvP, people are easily caged. You can't really poly in the water, so that's a big aspect as well. Now, this choke point here is probably one of like, it is a super hard spot to push. You know, element isn't amazing here either. It's element's hard on this map. You can just gravitate dinos down to their death and have aggressive gigas at the bottom and have bar back turrets here. Definitely a strong spot to defend, and of course you've got the moon pool and the drop down, and the cave as well. But the thing is about the moon pool, about the drop down. So yeah, guys, if you're fobbed on, a little bit of advice: if you're water PvPing, be super careful that you guys don't get tranquiled. Because like I said, you cannot poly in the water. Yeah, you can tech chest piece, so bear that in mind. That's quite good. But you could also get one tapped if you're in, like, you know, a fed suit. So bear that in mind. Obviously, the moon pool's super strong. Drop down's insanely strong. But I'm guessing if you lose your moon pool, you're probably going to lose your drop down. So it doesn't really matter about the defendable spots. Yeah, this spot here is super easy to defend. You've got the moon pool that is super easy to defend. Really, a decent tribe shouldn't really get wiped out a center ice cave. Does that deserve to be higher up on the list? Possibly, but the reason I'm not putting it up higher on the list is because you definitely need numbers to defend this. Maybe not as much as you think. You could probably defend it with, if people were, you know, if someone was actually good, you could defend it with less people. Water PvP, I'm not a big fan of, because you can easily get knocked out, caged, tranquiled. Like again I said. You can't poly in the water, so that is one of the problems here. But the base spot itself, you know, it's a center ice cave, it's big, you've got so much space for activities. Not the biggest cave in the game anymore, but it's definitely up there. So guys, at number 4 on the list, we've actually been brought over to Gen 1. This is the corner pillar. Now this spot is insane in my opinion. It is literally unraidable, you can't fob it. Only thing you can do to it is grief it. Now, the biggest problem with this spot is the space. You know, obviously your main base will sit up here, you've got a little bit breeding down here, and you don't really have much space for raising. You can also put, you know, raised war dinos below as well. But the space is definitely what holds this base spot back. Element, obviously Gen 1, easy to farm. Space-wise, not very much. Now, the reason this is at the number 4 spot is because, like I said, you can't fob it. You cannot fob this. You can only grief it, but if someone's on, you could hold this with one person. It just sits there, you know, dealing with whatever you're dealing with. Throwing carbos, or railgunning your skiffs, or tech bowing your skiffs as well. I think corner is a super insane underlooked base spot. I think it's amazing. It's a really good base spot. Definitely deserves to be in the top 10. Deserves a spot in the top 5. Definitely, in my opinion, I would prefer to live here than any other base spots below. So I would prefer to live here over the center ice, the pearl, the island ice, the tree, the shadow, the lost island crouch. I would prefer to live on a corner personally. The base spot itself is actually really insane. Unraidable. You don't need numbers to defend this. It defends itself. So at number 4, we are going to conclude this with the corner. Alright guys, so at number 3, we've been brought over to Genesis 2, to the Water Cube. Now this base spot is insane. It's 1x, it's really unraidable online. You've got 2 entrances, you can put a wall here, you can put a really nice wall here. Your biggest problem is, again, is probably going to be space. But if you block off all the water entrances, you could have infinite space, basically. Now, Element is, you know, it's the best map for Element, therefore you have so much of it. You can clone everything, you can build up super quickly, you've got easy access to all the missions. And again, you know, this base spot is so hard to raid online. Even a 20 turret wall on each side would be super hard to deal with. Alright guys, so here's what the water entrances look like on the cube. There's a total of 6 that you would have to defend if you wanted to block all the entrances off from anyone getting to your cube. which are, you know, you could put 100 turrets here, you can put aggressive Tusos, and make it really, really hard to raid and get in. And then if you did that, you would basically have infinite space inside. Again, Gen 2 is an insane map. It has all the missions, it has the most insane amount of element, easy access to the Striders, easy access to the element, infinite space in the bottom, an unraidable main part. But initially, your biggest problem is going to be the space. Originally, when Gen 2 came out, we actually ended up with a cube. At the time, they made it 6x damage, so it wasn't as strong. So actually, I gave it away to some friends. But if I'd known how strong this space bot would have become, if I'd known they would have changed it from 6x damage to 1x damage, I honestly probably would have kept it, because, you know, it is definitely top 3. No one's going to argue that. Again, the biggest problem being your space, but once you take care of the 6 entrances, that's certainly not going to be a problem. Alright guys, so moving on from number 3, we're going to go check out number 2. Alright guys, so number 2, we're going to be coming over to the brand new map Fjodor, and we're going to be checking out, in my opinion, the second best base bot. Honestly, it might even be the base bot depending on how you look at it. Now, the reason I think this base bot is so good, it's a reverse drop down with a moon pool, and the cave itself, if built properly, is gigantic. It has the most amount of space for your Thames. You can put so many floors here. You've got a bunch of defendable different spots. You've got the moon pool. You can defend here. You can put a wall here and defend here. Obviously, one thing about this base is element isn't the best here. Now it is good, but it's just not insane. Now, the reason I say that is because solo farming the element is a bit of a nightmare. You average about 1,000 to 1,200 element every 2 hours-ish. Now, that is really good element, but it is a lot of work to farm that. It's not like, you know, you can take a Strider and do that, at least not yet. Once transfers open up, you will be able to. So, you know, element is decent on this map. Not the best, but decent. So, you know, that is definitely one of the pros. You can also put a bunch of water walls here. And honestly, the size of the cave, it's gigantic when built properly. Like, my cave on Fjodor is built really well. The layout is done very well. And honestly, like, I'm kind of shocked every time I look at it, how much space we actually have for stuff. The cave is utter gigantic. This part here would be super annoying to raid. And you know what? If somehow, you know, this part probably would have easily get wiped, but if someone puts a fob here, right? If you guys think about it, if someone puts a fob here and you're up top here, all you have to do is jump down with Stegos, and it's 6x damage. You will blow their fob to smithereens really easily. Like, those turrets aren't going to stand a chance. You can then just jump down with aggressive dinos and finish them off. Definitely underestimate. People haven't really realized how strong it is at the moment, the sheer size of it, how hard it will be to raid. But you know what? This isn't going to be the final top 10 video that I do for Ark. I know we aren't really expecting any new maps coming out as far as I'm aware. But what we do have is, you know, once this map opens up to the fresh clusters, a lot of things are going to change. You know, you've got a great example right now is you've got the Desmondus, the bats. Now, these can fly in caves that you can't fly in. So you can rocket run on the back of these. They're going to completely change up the meta. Things are going to change. But you know, I do think this cave is definitely going to be in the top 3, 100%. And I believe right now, even if the transfers were to open right this second, it would stand a chance. Definitely, if it's built well, doesn't require a lot of people defending it either, which is a big yes for me. You could literally just jump down, sit there with grapples, sit there with nets. You can defend this cave with 1 or 2 people. I do believe that. But again, definitely, I think this spot deserves its number 2 spot. Honestly, I was even tempted to put it number 1, but there's a good reason I haven't done that, and you're going to see that in a minute. Alright guys, so at number 1, we've come over to Genesis 1. And it's Big Lunar. You guys may have guessed this, but this cave is beyond broken. What makes this cave is so strong is the anti-gravity. If they were to nerf that or change it, that would completely nerf this cave. Now this cave gets even stronger when you add and take the entire island. You can add about 20 25 towers, 26 towers, maybe even 22 towers to cover the entire island and control all of this. And trying to get onto the island is impossible or really hard. The cave itself, because of the anti-gravity, defends itself. The cave is gigantic, element is amazing. There's just so many pros to this base spot. I did want to put Labyrinth at number 1, but Lunar can't be contested. Now, I know on 1x things are slightly different. Maybe Labyrinth on 1x is stronger because, you know, it's just a number game on there. But I genuinely think this cave spot is insane. It's amazing, it's gigantic, you've got so much room, element is easy, and anti-gravity is just insane. Tech turrets knocking back dinos. The cave will literally defend itself. It is super hard to raid, super annoying. So that's the list, guys. That's going to be the top 10 base spots currently at the moment, in my opinion. Though do remember, guys, this is only my opinion. You guys are all entitled to your own. There's a lot of things you need to take into consideration, you know, when ranking a spot. Now, what comes down to me is the biggest factor that I think of is numbers. Because that's always going to be your biggest problem, especially on small tribes, is how many people are you going to be able to have to defend. Now, this base spot, Lunar itself, I think you could defend with 1 or 2 people once a Fortnite's built. You just have to sit there with tech rifles and you knock back them all. This case, definitely this base spot's insane. So I know you guys might not all agree with the spots that I've ranked, but guys, I do have a lot of experience on raiding, especially on small tribes. I've raided so many bases. I know what is a good base spot. I know what makes a good base spot. I know a lot of the time it also comes down to the 6 people inside the cave, whether or not how good they are. That also makes a big difference to how good the base spot is. So I definitely was taking that into consideration when ranking all the base spots. Numbers is everything in Ark. It always has been. Numbers will always just control what is the strongest. But in my opinion, Lunar, definitely number 1 base spot, guys. Alright, well guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.